Well, the deadly shootings in Chattanooga reigniting the debate over gun-free zones, which that recruiting center was one of. Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump weighing in on this last night on O'Reilly. Watch.
It's a total lack of respect. It's a breakdown, and frankly, a gun-free zone. These are four great Marines, from what everybody tells me, unbelievable people, and that they're not allowed to carry guns is absolutely ridiculous. So what happens is this guy walks in, he's got a gun, they're just sitting there as targets. It's absolutely disgraceful.
Let's bring in Juan Williams, Fox News political analyst, and Mary Catherine Ham, editor-at-large for HotAir.com and a Fox News contributor. Welcome to both of you. So, once again, you have Donald Trump, who's on top of our most recent Fox News poll. Right. His politics and what he's talking about seem to be coming together with these horrific things that are happening in the real world. Mary Catherine, I mean, discussion about gun control, discussion about arming people who are at recruiting centers. This man did 2 tours in Iraq and was awarded a Purple Heart, and yet he wasn't allowed to have a gun to protect himself or anybody else in that room. I mean, it is so tragic.
Well, yeah, here's the thing. I know that liberals will take issue with saying, okay, we should have no gun-free zones, although I would hasten to remind them that many of these shootings indeed take place in gun-free zones partly because people cannot protect themselves. But here's the thing. This should be non-controversial. These are Marines, every one of them a rifleman. They are trained to protect themselves, and they have volunteered to be our sheepdogs, to protect the rest of us, and yet we take the means out of their hands to do that, and that just seems like a sin.
Juan, what do you think?
I really am baffled by this whole conversation. This is a strip mall. This is not even Fort Hood. This is not even a military base. So what we're talking about here is a strip mall with stores and, hamburger stands and all that, and I don't think you want people just walking around, everybody with a gun, everybody who gets into an argument from workplace violence to a dispute in the parking lot.
Nobody's saying. First of all, this is a Marine recruiting center.
Yes,
and that's where this man selected. Okay,
yes,
he went there on
exactly
purpose
right.
with that intention. He killed 4 United States Marines who were unarmed in that facility. Right. So how can you say, well, it's just a strip mall? Why would we want to arm people at a strip mall?
What do you mean? It's in a strip mall, Martha. That's exactly where it's located.
Well,
so what we're talking about, Martha, is you're saying you would be in favor of sort of the Wild Wild West. Everybody has a gun on them as they're walking around the mall. Not my mall. I don't want it.
No, I don't think you heard a word I said.
Go ahead.
We are talking about arming our U.S. military at recruiting centers. And why? Because there are hundreds of threats that exist against military families in this country, Juan.
That's
hundreds.
fine, Martha.
And
this is a recruiting
This is going to
station.
happen again. It's going to happen. It is going to happen again.
You know what
so
this
you're
is?
going to give these guys a gun to protect themselves?
Martha, you can pander to fear, anxiety, anger over what happened yesterday.
But
it is not a substantial policy to say where we have military police who do have guns, where we have situations where we say we don't want everybody carrying a gun, that somehow that's illogical or bad policy or blame President Clinton.
It is a rational, completely no-brainer policy to say that military personnel who are working in military matters might carry so that they might protect themselves because they are targets. And this is the new world that we live in, where people are soft targets, where strip malls are targets. And so it does seem illogical to take the power out of those hands that are trained to protect themselves and others, and frankly regular citizens as well. It does not make for a Wild West to have responsible citizens have means in their hands in case something happens.
Well, they can under law.
Look, I wanted to talk to you guys about Donald Trump, but I think we still are in a way, because he's saying what a lot of people would like to hear, Juan. And he's saying that it's, for one thing, it's ridiculous that these guys are not allowed to arm themselves. They're trained United States military, and they're clearly a target of these Islamic radical groups. They have made that perfectly clear, okay? So the fact that Donald Trump is willing to say stuff that people think and feel is what's making him resonate, and it's working for him on the issue of the border as well. So, I don't know, Juan, do you not understand that?
Yeah, I understand that you can say things that other people say, oh yeah, I wish somebody would say that. That's pretty wild and radical. And, you know, I'm not hearing this from our establishment politicians. So Donald Trump says it, and boy, that's great. He's blunt. He's really speaking the truth. He's authentic. But in fact, if you stop and think about it, and think about the policy and why it is that people are having discussions and put limits in place, I think you understand it makes for a better society. So he can play to political passions of the moment. And remember, he did this interview with, I think it was ammoland.com, and he recently spoke to the NRA. So he's playing politics and trying to win them over by satisfying their immediate needs. I don't think he's speaking to our larger concerns as Americans.
Well, and here's the thing, Juan, you're right that he's playing politics, and I hasten to remind conservatives, as always, that in the past he has been for an assault weapons ban. So he has been on the other side of this issue and for restrictions on guns. But in this case, I do think he's tapping into something. And no, it is not a radical idea. And no, it's not insane to think that people who are trained to protect themselves and others could have guns to protect themselves and others in places that are obviously targets. That seems perfectly rational to me. I happen to agree with him on this issue, even though he's radical on some others.
You know, you could say that about the post office. We have lots of post office violence, and people have the right to carry guns. But then in the workplace, we say not in this workplace, and that's what the U.S. government says.
Are you really you're making a comparison to post office shootings and an Islamic radical movement that has been going on essentially since 1982?
I'm making a comparison. I'm making a comparison to workplace violence. And remember, this is their workplace.
And their workplace is a target.
Yeah, we're all targets. We're Americans.
Right, which is why it's okay for all of us to have guns.
Well, that's right. There you go.
All right.
But, you know,
Juan and Mary
Catherine,
rules in place.
We're going to do the conversation is going to go on. I guarantee it. Thank you very much, Juan and Mary Catherine. We'll see you soon. All right, Greg, back to you in New York.